So I have three 3D printers. I have my MakerBots down here and I have my Dremel, which is my fastest printer, my most reliable printer until recently. The problem is that the Dremel spool is not a standard size. So if I want to use anything other than Dremel stuff, it doesn't fit. So what I originally did was I printed a little bracket here. There's another one that goes on the other side. Then I put a spool on there and it holds it, and then it feeds over into the extruder over here. The problem is if that thing gets jammed at all, it rips this whole thing apart and breaks the filament like so. So I have a problem that I need to solve with that because this has happened a few times, and you can see I get failed results here with my prints where they just slide off and get pulled over, and then there's a big commotion and we have some problems. So what I think I'm going to do here is we have space above to hang it underneath. Now I thought about magnets and all that stuff before I really took a look, and if we take a look here, there's already holes. So what I can do is I can make a little T-bracket that hangs down here, holds a spool in the middle, and then will feed in, and doesn't really have to worry about being side to side because it should hold. So I basically need to remake something like this that fits so I can have bolts that go through these holes there. I can hold it down, and then the spool will just kind of be in the center here and just pull straight down onto that. I think that's going to work, but we need to model it, print it, and see what's going to happen here. Now, these printers can print about 5 inches in any direction. This one can do more, but as we said, we're having problems with that feeding, so I can't really use this printer right now. And if we take a look here, between the holes, it's about 7 inches, which means I need another solution than the T. So I think a single bolt from here and maybe here. So we have one here, one there holding that. It's not a lot of weight, so I should hold it just fine. So I just need to get this thing printed, hang it up, and we should be in good shape. And here's a size difference. It doesn't look like a lot, but they are different sizes, and that one just being a little bit bigger and having a significantly larger hub than this one causes problems. So we need to measure out from basically the top of this up to make sure it hangs down enough, and then we'll print the spoke that goes through there along with the hanging device. So further investigating this thing a little bit, if we take a look at the diameter of it, it's just short of 8 inches, which is fine. We're not going to worry about that too much. And then if we look at the diameter of the whole spool, it's 2. We really only need to go about 1 inch down because it doesn't need to be centered. It can be resting against the top. That's not a big deal. So we're going to make this thing the center of the hole down about 3.5 inches or maybe 4 inches. And that will put us close to the center of this thing, and then we can design around that. Now I'm using Onshape to model everything. It's really quick, free, easy. But going through here, I wanted to have this kind of just rod going through with a hole in the bottom, have a hole for the axle that's going to go and support the spool, and then some supports. There's going to be a problem with this a little later that we'll talk about coming up in the video, but this is the general setup to begin with here. I then exported as an STL file. I brought 2 of them into the MakerBot program or software that we can use to print them out, and the only settings I changed were I turned the raft off because this doesn't need one, and then I also went ahead and changed the infill up to 40% just to give it a little bit more strength than what I would otherwise have. Now these printed perfectly fine, but there are a couple small problems with them. One, the nuts and bolts that I have here, which are from old kind of tear down furniture, because I was just going through my scrapyard, when I put them through there, they run in like that. I also decided that this hole, I was going to use PVC pipe for because I was originally going to print a 3D tube to go up to hold it, but the separation on the holes that are already in the shelf are farther than what I thought they were. So I'm going to expand these and use PVC so I don't have to print stuff longer than my print bed. So I'm using this PVC pipe here, and you can see that the diameters don't match up. So I printed some new stuff here, which are bigger, basically the same design. We got rid of the middle rib there for strength, but you can see that the bolts fit in all the way through, and that this slides in there no problem, and that we can get it set and it spins freely. So you can see here it spins no problem, we get everything no issue, and then these will be bolted in from the top like so. Now the only other problem we have is this is so loose fitting, and I wanted like that so it could slide back and forth, but more so it could spin easily. But as the machine is pulling down on it, it's going to want to pull it, and it's going to want to slide this thing out, and eventually it's going to pop out and drop. So I made some of these little 3D spacer things on here. Diameter is just slightly smaller than this, which means I have to press fit them on. It's going to hold nice and tight. So I should be able to put those either on the outside of this, or if I wanted to, put it in between that and the spool, and it'll hold it in place where it needs to go. All right, so while the print's getting ready to go, this is my final solution. I have my old one here, which would constantly just pull off and take the whole thing and collapse on here. This one is bolt and nut in there. It has its thing. You can see that there's string going all the way back, but the prints usually are in the middle where this comes right down over top of. So we have the filament warming up inside our extruder there. It's coming over. You can see that we're going to have a few possible problems with that as it homes and goes around. But if we have a good first run here, we should be good to go. So it should be going doing its thing. You can see that it's staying mostly within those bounds. And then we hopefully are going to be in good shape here.